Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. My name is Funmi Owolabi and I'm the principal attorney at the firm. Today's review is going to be on cookies. So we've got the banner. This is what we call a cookie banner. The website stores various cookies on your device which do different things. The essential cookies help the website perform its core functions. We're going to review the policy today, and I also want to review the preference center. Something that I've been seeing consistently is that some companies are detailing that they're using essential cookies to help the website perform, but they're also including analytics and personalization cookies in this section. It's really important to define what constitutes essential. If you're going to be telling consumers generally that you're collecting certain essential cookies to help the website perform its core functions, make sure that the definition reflects the cookies that are actually being collected, and those cookies are not for other usage. Because from a transparency perspective, we know that the data protection laws require that you're transparent about your privacy practices. So if your definition doesn't fit into the actual practice, that could be problematic. Okay, so while our non-essential cookies enable us to remember you and collect information about you as you interact with the website, I've talked about this in other reviews. Cookies constitute personal data. Now, the definition of personal information varies country to country, geography to geography, but generally, if information is able to identify an individual, which a cookie does, it constitutes personal data. And as such, businesses have responsibilities on how they collect, process, use, and delete that information. So the other thing I want to highlight here is you can see the color of this button. We have two options, right? Do you consent to us using cookies on your device? We've got one button that's green with white writing, and we've got another one with no button at all, no colored button, and then we've got blue writing. Can you see that? These are different buttons. So I'm actually going to click no, and I'm not entirely sure if there's the opportunity to exercise my preferences related to the non-essential cookies. What I'm not clear on is if I click no, does that mean that the non-essential cookies will be obtained, or all of them, essential cookies and the non-essential, including the information collected to improve the website, our services, customize your browser? Let's read it carefully, okay? This website stores various cookies on your device which do different things. Our essential cookies help the website to perform core functions, while our non-essential cookies enable us to remember you and collect information about how you interact with the website. So the first question that I personally have is, when asking for my consent, are you talking about every single cookie, or are you just talking about the non-essential cookies? Because you've stated here that these ones are essential. If I select no, does that mean I am removed from the website? That would be the first clarification. We use the information we collect from you to improve the website and our services, customize your browsing experience, and enable our business partners to service the website. Please read our cookie policy, which we're going to do to find out more. Do you consent to us using cookies on your device? I presume that this is for non-essential cookies, because even if I select no, which I'm going to do, I'm still on the site. So those essential cookies are essentially still being collected as I interact with this web page. So I think there needs to be clarification there. Now, I can't say for sure because I just read what their banner said. But one of the values in reviewing these websites is taking a look at what businesses are doing from a data protection standpoint and identifying different rules in different geographies that influence what responsibilities are for organizations based on the data protection law. Now, there's lots of details are missing during these reviews, and I do want to be very clear about that, because when I am working with a client, I always distribute something called an intake form. The intake form allows me to know everything about the business. I don't know everything about any of the businesses for any of these reviews. So there's so many details and factors that are missing, but we can take a general overview on some of the privacy principles that are consistent in every geography, like presenting notice, obtaining consent, being transparent about your privacy practices. Those are principles that are specific in every single geography and need to be adhered to if you're going to process personal data, which at the beginning of this video, I identified that cookies are personal data. So they've also got a privacy policy, and it works alongside this cookie policy. So look at the different types of cookies: essential, site analytics, functional, advertising, social media. Okay. And then in terms of deletion, if you wish to delete the cookies, please refer to your device manual or website manual for instructions. This is very interesting because I don't see insight here on how this organization allows us as consumers, including me, to exercise my preferences in relation to all of these different types of cookies? What is the responsibility on this organization to allow me the opportunity to manage and exercise my rights over my own data? So that would be the first thing. The other thing that I noticed here is that there is no date in which this was last updated. Let's scroll down. So the question that I would have is this cookie policy reflective of how this organization is processing personal data in 2026? When was this last updated, and is this still what the site is doing? And that really goes into the transparency principle for privacy, which talks about making sure that you're transparent about your privacy practices. I'll give you an example of an instance where this might matter. For example, if you update your web pages regularly, let's say, for example, in 2022, you had one offering. You had offering A. And then in 2024, you decided to add additional services, offering B and offering C. If you create a web page in relation to offering B and C, and the manner in which those web pages process personal data to include cookies changes, you need to review your policy to reflect those changes to those cookies. Maybe for 2022, you only collected 3 advertising cookies, but then in 2024, you introduced 2 additional web pages for your offerings, and you introduced social media cookies. Well, then your cookie policy needs to reflect that, because now you're processing additional information and your transparency obligations kick in. So that's what I really wanted to say. I think it's valuable for, first of all, individuals to know what they can expect from organizations that process their personal data. But the second part of this is, what should businesses be doing in 2026? Because privacy is very important. There is no organization that can operate without some type of personal data, and that is clear when we go onto web pages and we see things like the fact that there is a privacy notice and a cookie notice. Because essentially what this organization is doing is telling you what they do. They're putting you on notice. They're not asking for permission on what they should do. They're telling you and presenting, this is what we do. That's what they're saying. So this is really important because individuals have rights, and those rights need to be reflected in how the business operates. But in addition to that, the obligations that you have from a privacy foundation also need to be reflected, because there are laws around how you can use personal data. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you have comments or questions, leave a comment below and I'll see you in another one.